Right, and we're off, getting into the first map here. We're going to be going on to Oasis, as we talked about. And looks like we're already seeing the hazard being picked on the side of Western Michigan. Now, obviously, that was pre-match, so we have no idea what they're going to be picking in the official match. But a potential hazard comp could be very interesting, as he seems to be very meta right now, especially in pro play. And so, something we might be seeing, especially for Wild Viking, is the same Wrecking Ball that we saw last time. In fact, Wrecking Ball in the recent Soup Cup over in Korea was able to dismantle some of the hazard play that they had because of the fact that it's able to take cooldowns away from the enemy team. So we're going to see how we're going to be able to try and use that today. And it looks like we are, in fact, opting for that Wrecking Ball choice, as well as a Genji Sojourn, a very kind of dive-esque style comp, with a Lucio and a Kiriko for the backline. Maybe a potential switch to a Torbjorn for Veracity here. Could be a little interesting. But the other team, pretty standard stuff. We're looking at Genji, Kiriko, and then Lucio, Bastion. Bastion, a little bit of an odd pick here into this comp, but we're going to see how it goes. Looks like they opt for a Symmetra for the fast rollout instead. And here we go. Get ready, everybody, for this first map. Good luck to everybody. We get a Symmetra pick, obviously, for the first thing. Now let's go back to spectating over on the side of Moorhead. So here we go. Moorhead, obviously, on this Wrecking Ball, trying to find the pick of the Kiriko. Kiriko teleports away relatively quickly. Lucio being picked on the other side. Hazard finds the first pick onto E-Man. Not a very good sign here for the Dragons. Taz21 trying to find a pick onto this Lucio. Lucio falling very low, unable to get it. Is forced to deflect and leaves. The Dragons contest the point for a little bit longer, but it is not enough. And they're going to fall very shortly here to the Trojans. Wild Viking forced to retreat, trying to find those health packs. As we know about Wrecking Ball needs to get access to health packs because he does not have the support of his team. Wrecking Ball on point, trying to do a little bit of contesting, trying to pull those crosshairs a little bit away from the rest of the team. Meanwhile, tuning back in over here on Veracity. Veracity falling very low, unable to get any sort of closure there. Taz21 falls to the Tracer. This is going to be very bad. This is a lost fight, essentially, for the Dragons. Even though Veracity finds a kill onto the Lucio, I don't think it's enough. Suzu is able to save Veracity from the final fight. And there they go. It's another lost fight for the Dragons here on this first point of Oasis. I don't think this Wrecking Ball is able to produce the exact results that we are looking for it to be doing. And something else that we're seeing is that they're getting a little bit separated on these fights. Usually when you're going for the Wrecking Ball comp, you want your backline to be very, very tight with each other. And without that, it becomes difficult to make any sort of progress, especially to a team with a Tracer where you can very easily distract your backline. Wrecking Ball goes onto the point, trying to get anything from the enemy team. And now here's what we're going to see. We're going to see Hazard dive onto the backline here. With that jump, Lucio falls extremely low. Taz21 trying best to protect the team. Suzu comes out. Not enough time, and the Suzu isn't enough to save Taz21. This is going to be another lost fight here for the Dragons. Very, very unfortunate. Wild Viking finds one kill onto the Lucio. Veracity finds another one onto the Genji. Insane picks. Kiriko teleporting back to the team. Could have been an even fight, but just not enough numbers in order to take the rest of the point. Now we do have Kitsune Rush from Veracity available, as well as Overclock from the Sojourn. Wild Viking finds the first pick onto the Kiriko. This is very important. Oh, and a massive trap manages to kill Veracity. Unfortunate that Hazard is just very, very strong, especially into mobile characters like Kiriko. Wild Viking manages to get two, but is it enough to escape? Tracer finds one onto Taz. Minefield comes out from the Wrecking Ball, but is it enough? Has to hold point for as long as possible. They are at 99%. Is going to go into overtime. Genji Blade popped on the side of Western Michigan and takes out the Lucio. Wild Viking tries to get whatever they can, but it is not enough. And that is the first point there for Western Michigan in the Trojans. I think something that we saw was happening was that the DPS on the side of the Dragons was just not able to get enough picks and not able to find enough of that damage. And could that be attributed to the lack of tank presence? Maybe, but it's really up to you to decide. And I think that potentially a swap over to something maybe a little bit more solid like an Orisa might see success on the Dragon side, but we'll have to see how they choose to continue. Obviously, as we talked about, Ashe is no longer available, so you can't try and hit that Genji with hit scan, so switches to the Cassidy instead of the Genji. Now, the Lucio here is potentially a little bit out of place as we're no longer looking at a dive comp. We're looking more at sort of a poke comp with the Cassidy and the Sojourn here. But we'll see Wrecking Ball grappling hook onto the high ground there, where all of Western Michigan is holding. Sojourn here just trying to get to that charge. Rail is not coming in enough time. Lucio tracking the other enemy team. But it isn't enough, and that hazard is just in the Dragons, and it's unable to be stopped by any of them. I think what we saw is that the Wrecking Ball was not successful enough in doing what they need to do, which is pull Crosshairs away. And as you can see, the Wrecking Ball is still at pretty much full health, and didn't have very much presence last fight. But the first point is still up for grabs. We need to make sure so we can get some progress onto this point. Not a lot of ultimates available in the side of the Dragons, but we'll have to see as this next fight continues. Hazard is already 54% to his reign, where he traps a lot of the enemy team under. But we'll have to see how this goes. Now Tracer over here to the side. Forced recall! And Taz21 unable to secure the kill. Tracer's building up that pulse bomb very, very quickly. Veracity falls very low and falls to the Lucio, and it's too much. This Hazard dive comp is doing too much to our backline. We're unable to hold it. And the Wild Viking on the Wrecking Ball, I don't think is doing enough. I apologize if I was a little quiet there. I was away from my microphone. I think in order to find success against this Hazard, we need to be picking a different tank and playing a different style. I think our dive comp is maybe not working in our favor here. Looks like Western Michigan, the Trojans, are doing very, very well at stopping us. Wild Viking tries to get a kill into the point. Lucio falls extremely low, and it's not enough. Taz21 manages to finish off the fight. And now we're looking at a potentially big... Oh, and a massive pulse gets Suzured. Veracity falls anyway, and there's the Hazard ultimate. Manages to kill pretty much all of the Dragons. Veracity finds one of the Tracer. Is it enough? Wild Viking will need to make a hero play here. Kiriko teleports out. The grappling hook and the massive spin. Veracity is all that's left. Is it enough? It's not. And the Lucio finds the kill on Veracity. All that's left is Wild Viking in a duel against the Lucio. He falls. And the minefield barely protects us and manages to get us that last point before overtime. Wild Viking getting a little bit greedy here, going into their spawn, getting its health back. Pulls back just a tiny bit. We used pretty much all of our ultimates there that we had available. That means minefields. And I think that's it, actually, so maybe not. And they used Pulse Bomb and the Hazard ultimate. Looking like the ult economy is potentially in our favor, but they do have Rush and Beat. Could be bad. And there's Rush. Lucio falls extremely low before he can beat. It's a massive fight win. This could be huge. And there's the Wrecking Ball, what's it called? The Kitsune Rush from the side of us. And the High Noon doesn't find anything. Looking. And the Genji deflect at the last second manages to save them. And there's both beats procced from both teams. Wild Viking tries to get anything, but the Genji Dragon Blade is too much. It's overwhelming the Dragons. And that seems to be it. Wild Viking forced to pull back, and it's not enough time. 86%. I don't know if the Dragons are going to be able to make a play here on this first map of Oasis. With Pulse Bomb available to catch any supports trying to get there, Wild Viking is looking for, obviously, the backline play. Gets there, but it is enough. Hazard jumps onto the Sojourn, forces the Suzu. Veracity and Sojourn versus the Hazard. Hazard doesn't fall. Pulse Bomb is popped. It's too much. Wild Viking on the point manages to get one. Veracity with the overclock finds one. Jester, though, trades it back. E-Man boops the Kiriko into the bullets. Massive. The Hazard falls extremely low. Is it going to be enough? It's a massive fight win for the Dragons. But Genji dashes and kills the E-Man. This is potentially very bad. Genji falls, though. This is a good fight for the Dragons. Jester, though, on Tracer is taking out our backline. Killing Taz21. This could potentially be bad, but we'll have to see. And that's a very big swing in the favor of the Dragons. A couple ultimates used like Overclock, but with Hazard ultimate on the side of the Trojans, I think it might be too much for us. A couple shots from Veracity trying to dissuade the Tracer. Is it enough? I don't think so. Minefield being procced by Wild Viking. Boops to Lucio, potentially into the enemy fire. It's not enough. And Kitsune Rush on the side of Western Michigan. The Genji falls extremely low, but the Hazard ultimate is enough to take out everybody. The Suzu is barely whiffed by Veracity. And this is devastating. Massive ultimates being spammed by all of Western Michigan is just enough to try and take him out. But a massive fight being turned from Taz21 on the Tracer. Is it enough? Links to safety. They still have 99, but they need to prevent them from getting the point. Taz21 in a hero situation here. They just barely get it before Wild Viking's able to get on. Wild Viking falls. And going for the Pulse Bomb onto the Kiriko. Suzu is forced. Veracity falls low. Their Suzu's forced as well. Is it enough here? Wild Viking tries to go for the Tracer. It's not enough there. And a massive Whiffed Pulse on the side of Taz21. This could potentially be bad. Considering Rush available for Razzie, uses it. Bait it from the enemy team. Extremely, very volatile fight there, but the Hazard ultimate is able to find Taz21. And it looks like it's a fight that's going in favor of the Trojans, which did not have the ultimates. Wild Viking remains alive, though. Minefield potentially available in the future. No adaptive shield, though, and that is going to be it for the first map of Oasis in favor of the Trojans. So that's the first map there. The play of the game goes to the Lucio. Very unfortunate, but what a fight from both teams. I think our biggest mistake there from the Dragons is staying on that Wrecking Ball for so long. I think he was able to get a lot of important ticks on the point, but I think in terms of actual fighting, I don't think the Wrecking Ball was accomplishing as much as something like an Orisa or a Sigma would be. So let's see how the Dragons mix that up potentially in the future. As we get into our second map here. Thank you all for sticking around, and it looks like it just canceled. I do not know what happened. I apologize. Just give us 1 second here. And here we are in the second map. I apologize for the wait. Thank you everybody for waiting for so long. But looking at the first signs of the Dragons comp on the second map, potentially a Winston we might be seeing. We'll have to see how this goes, but looks like I can't escape of the spawn room. Very unfortunate. But we're here on New Bonnie. Welcome everybody. This is a hybrid map, which means both teams will need to capture a point and then push a payload as far as possible in order to win the round. So we got about 1 second before we're going to be starting. And it looks like we were right. We are going to, in fact, seeing that Winston on the side of the Dragons. And obviously, like we said, Western Michigan is sticking with this hazard. They are opting for a Juno instead of the Lucio and a Brigitte instead of the Kiriko. This is going to be a little bit more of a brawl comp where they're really looking to get on the enemy backline. But when the enemy backline is Kiriko Lucio, that could be a little bit tricky. All that matters is really how the DPS are able to handle it and if the tank is able to properly trade dives back in return. 10 seconds before our first match. Looks like Western Michigan is choosing to set up on high ground, getting rid of all these fences that are competitively questionable, apparently. And here we go on our first map. Looks like we are on attack as the Dragons. We'll see how this goes. Rushing in with our Lucio amp. Potentially looking for a fast take onto point. Winston tries to jump onto high ground. Instant bubbles. The hazard jump is immediately used. Not very much. And the Genji is very much caught out, but dashes to safety. And Sojourn looking to get some damage. Wild Viking falls extremely low, but just barely lives thanks to the help of his supports. Genji on top. Winston drops down, bubble, and this brig is going to be very, very difficult to dive onto because of that shield bash. Has to drop down. So does Hazard. After killing Veracity, this is potentially an advantageous fight for Western Michigan. Winston gets the health pack. Gets some right clicks on them, but not very much is happening at the current time. Winston jumps in. It's a very difficult point to find a way to get in on. You have to either choose to go through the side or just right down the middle, like it appears that we are choosing to do. An instant point capture from the side of the Dragons, and Taz21 falls extremely low. The Genji is able to kill just in time. Winston is forced to retreat this hazard, blocking all of this damage from his backline. Extremely, extremely useful character, especially in these kind of team comps. Wild Viking finds a kill on the Brigitte, falls extremely low to 70 health, and the bubble is just not enough. The Genji is able to kill them through the bubble. And that is a push essentially all but cancelled from the side of the Dragons. Now, we will be beating them to the tank ultimate, so we will have Primal Rage before they have their hazard ultimate. Will we be able to use that properly to get in engaged and manage to get the point? That's down to find out. Looks like we're opting to go a little bit on the top left route from the Kiriko as well. Hazard just taking all of this damage while the Winston dives his backline. Tries to get a kill into the Genji. Is it enough? The Juno's trying to protect them. I don't know. Genji on point. The Hazard ultimate just whiffs everybody. It's a massive fight potentially for the Dragons. Hazard with the jump manages to kill Veracity. Is it enough? Winston tries to kill Hazard. Hazard falls to extremely low. The Sojourn Whale is enough to do it. Bertram, however, kills E-Man. And there is the Primal Rage as well as the Orbital Raid from the enemy Juno. This could potentially be very big. Taz21 deflects a lot of the shot from the Sojourn, and the Primal Rage manages to kill the Brigitte. This is a massive fight from the Dragons. It looks like Primal Rage is wearing off. Will we be able to kill the Sojourn? Yes, we will with the right click, and that is a very, very successful point take from the side of the Dragons. However, going into the next fight, especially around this next corner, the Trojans are going to have 3 ultimates to use. And there goes the Dragon Blade. A massive Susan from Veracity saves a lot of their team, but is it enough? The Dragon Blade is still active, going to be doing a lot of damage. Kiriko, however, manages to find a massive kill. Raider going in on the Brigitte. Sojourn Whale from the enemy team goes, but finds nothing. And a massive rail from Veracity, and Wild Viking is able to take the point. Very well done by the Dragons. Good ultimate usage. Now, Western Michigan used 2 ultimates in Dragon Blade and Overclock, but chose not to use the Brigitte ultimate of Rally, but did use Orbital Ray. This is very, very large ultimate advantage from the side of the Dragons when they have Beast and Dragon Blade available, as well as almost 60% to Primal Rage. Going to the next fight is going to be all about ultimate economy and making sure the supports are able to properly play around their tank. Let's go back to this Winston here. Dives back to the team. Falls a little bit low, but not enough to matter. Genji on a little bit of a flank here. Taz21 deflects a lot of shots. Isn't enough, though. The hazard wall just isn't enough to do very much. Genji has full Dragon Blade. Winston dives in onto the Genji, forces a dash and a deflect. Is it going to be enough? Potentially not. Genji falls back, and the Sojourn Whale almost 100% charge. Looking for the headshot. Doesn't find it. Barely just misses it. Hazard forced to use his block and his wall. Brigitte rally is procced very, very early. Is it enough? Winston's going to be falling very low to these Brigitte, and she finally uses the shield bash there. Primal Rage to save himself and kills the Brigitte. Jester with a whale kills E-Man, but Taz with a dash kills Jester back. Massive trades here from the Dragons. Are we going to be able to kill this Hazard is the real question. Hazard's 95% to his ultimate. Will he be able to use it this fight? Looks like no. Bertram trades back, but it's just not enough, and I think Bertram's going to be falling to this Winston here. And Taz21 cleans up the kill. A massive fight for the Dragons. Again, that ultimate economy is extremely critical. And when they used Rally, we used nothing but Dragon Blade. We still maintain both Kitsune Rush and beat from Lucio, which is going to be potentially very, very critical in this next fight. Hazard pops his ultimate very early to try and stop the point from getting there, but Kitsune Rush coming from Veracity is able to save a lot of the team. Lots of healing. Wild Viking forced to go back, and Orbital Late comes down very, very late from the enemy Juno. All we have to do is pull back and not use any ultimates too early, and we should be okay. Wild Viking gets maybe a little bit greedy there. But we're 84% to rail, and so looking pretty good here. Kiriko telling us what we all know. Trying to get some movement onto the point here. And there's the beat. That's an engaging beat coming from the side of the Dragons. Is it going to be enough? We kill Raider on the Brigitte. Genji's going to fall falling very, very shortly. Juno trying to keep him up. It's just not enough. Juno falls extremely low. And there goes Juno from Taz21. E-Man kills the Tracer, and Veracity with the whale kills Monkey on the Hazard. This is a massive, massive fight win from the side of the Dragons, but we did use both support ultimates, which could potentially spell doom for us in a later fight. You'll notice they're already 33% to another Orbital Ray, which is a massive ultimate. We'll have to see how that plays out. Speaking of ultimates that are massive, low taper fade. Obviously, Genji goes in, a massive dash, finds E-Man on the Lucio, but is he going to be able to find anything else? Looks like the answer is yes. The Dragon Blade finds Veracity as well. And it's just too much for the Dragons. But we've already gotten the payload. Not much else. Not a lot of point into using that ultimate so early. And you'll notice we're already 94% to our own Dragon Blade. And if we can do the same thing that they do, I don't know how they're going to win this first defense. Wild Viking getting some poke onto the Juno. Not a lot. The support passive is going to keep them alive. Kiriko trying to find some crazy peeks onto them. Taz21 falls low, uses the health pack to gain an advantage. Tracer uses a recall. Is it too soon? The post bomb! Massive Suzu from Veracity! Absolutely perfect timing, saves the Genji. And this could potentially be a fight one for them. Wild Viking with the Primal Rage tries to find the Juno, does! And all that's left is a Genji and the Hazard to protect the protect the Broncos from losing this first map, and that's going to be the Trojans, I apologize, from losing that map, and that is going to be it. They have one more chance to hold the point, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Winston jumping in. Shield as well. Suzu popped very early. The Sojourn just getting massive amounts of healing. Support ultimates are charging very fast there. Potentially they'll have a Kitsune Rush for this last fight. Hazard ultimates potentially too early. And there comes the Orbital Ray to try and protect them, but I don't think it's enough. This Wild Viking is doing too much damage, and an Overclock and a Dragon Blade and a Kitsune Rush all coming from the side of the Dragons is going to be enough to secure this first point with 34 seconds remaining on the clock. Very, very well done.
Score 0-3. Switching sides. Initiating.
We get to see if the Numbani landscape, evidently, is where we get to start. I have no idea where on the map we are. Here we are. Going on to the side of Moorhead's defense, we have to see how we deal with this Hazard. Hazard is obviously a very volatile character on the offense. Able to jump in and get right in your face and use that wall to get right back out. So it's all about seeing how Moorhead is able to respond to this.
Ready for battle.
Now the tank pick is what I'm very interested in. Wild Viking has yet to choose a character. Goes for the Winston again. Opts for what's working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
My cybernetic form came at great cost.
But you asked to change?
I learned too young that my
Here we
body
are.
couldn't always keep up with
Getting
me.
ready for the defense.
Besides,
It's all
it's hard
about
to turn down rocket legs.
the DPS and the tank here. Sojourn's flexing the sprays. Looks a little bit like the Loud House. I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but that's what I see when I see that. Never watched it, but an enemy team obviously opts for their own Sojourn. Pretty similar comps as what we've seen before. All right, looks like they're opting to go for just right down the middle. Pretty standard stuff. Sojourn potentially going up in the top right. Pretty basic points take. And it's all about how these tanks can brawl each other, really. Winston able to build 15% ultimate charge right away. Sojourn uses the E very quickly. Winston drops down onto the enemy team, potentially prematurely. The Lucio falls extremely low for the Winston jump, and the Winston kills the Lucio. And the Hazard is going to be falling probably very promptly after. The supports are able to keep him alive, though. Genji not able to do enough damage here. Wild Viking doing a lot of damage with that Winston gun. Taz21 finds a kill on the Raider with the dash. Is it going to be enough? Sojourn's going to fall really low, and a beautiful rail there by Veracity to finish that first fight. Victorious for the Dragons. Alright, well, we're going into this next fight. Looks like we have a very, very high ultimate lead in terms of Wild Viking with that 72% Primal Rage. It's going to be very, very good. The second the enemies build up their ult charge or try to take the point, leap onto the backline from the Hazard is enough. It is not able to protect his own backline. Genji, Taz21 trying to find anything, unable to find very much of anything. Veracity back here in the backline. Just getting some pot shots off. A rail here. Doesn't find the headshot. Wild Viking gets a kill into Jester. Taz21 falls in trade, though. Now there goes the Hazard, and the rail just barely misses from Sojourn. Very unfortunate. Veracity does, however, get a kill onto the Genji. And Veracity gets a kill onto the Kiriko. Lucio's going to fall shortly after. Hazard, like dominoes, falls again. Now, neither team used any ultimates this fight. This next few fights are where the game really is decided. Who is able to better utilize their ultimates, and who are the better ultimate economy going into it. You'll see that Veracity is already 98% percent to a Kitsune Lash. Could be a game changer, especially if mixed with the overclock from Sojourn. Here Kiriko announcing what we already know. There goes the leap, gets a little bit of damage. Primal Rage is ready. Is he going to activate it? There's the Kitsune Rush. Primal Rage not activated because it's not needed. The Sojourn ultimate is able to do enough. Or the Sojourn is able to do enough, especially with that E. Veracity doing lots of damage with these kunai. Are they able to kill the Hazard? Yes, they are. And that's Kitsune Rush for a one fight. And the enemy team's own Kitsune Rush also is paid as that price. Kiriko! Little bit of an emote there going on. I don't know if it's too early to be doing that, especially after that first map performance, but we'll have to see. And here come the Trojans coming in. Hazard ultimate pops. There is the rush, or the overclock coming from the side of the Trojans. And the Primal Rage onto the Sojourn isn't enough to kill. It's so close, and the Primal Rage finishes off the Sojourn. This should be a one fight for the Dragons, but all that has to happen is that we need to not be using too many ultimates. And a beautiful kill from Veracity. And oh, look at the tracking on the rail, just barely misses. Kiriko teleports away to safety. Are we going to go for the spawn camp? I don't think so. Maybe a little bit early. And that's Primal Rage for Kitsune Rush. Or sorry, not Kitsune Rush, but Overclock from the enemy team, as well as the Hazard ultimate. They switched to Diva potentially for that speed of getting onto point and the defense matrix, especially from the Sojourn. Jester on Tracer tries to get onto Taz21. Is it going to be enough? Who knows? There comes the Dragon Blade from the enemy team. Bertram able to kill Veracity first. Veracity trying to escape, but the Suzu is not enough to stop this Dragon Bladed Genji. Taz21 with his own Dragon Blade tries to answer back, but it is not enough. All that's left is Wild Viking in order to protect the point. Tries to get a lot. Wild Viking kills Bertram and the Lucio. Very, very good. Jumps onto the Kiriko. Kiriko does a teleport, and it's a massive fight win in overtime for the Dragons. Not even needed with the overclock, and that is map 2 going to the Dragons. A beautiful clapback. I really loved that Winston pick there. Let's see who gets play of the game. I don't actually know if we'll be able to see it. Yes, we will, and Wild Viking, as expected, gets play of the game. And that brings the map score up to 1-1. So it's the Primal Rage here in this first fight, or one of the first early fights. Beautiful jump onto the Sojourn. Able to take them out. That Winston gun is so powerful, especially onto high mobility champions like Kiriko and Genji, because it just tracks them. It's the same with a character like Moira, who's not as very strong right now, but Winston, especially if you're comfortable on him, is able to deal a lot of very, very powerful AoE damage to these jumpy, dashy characters without much worry. So Tracer, that's Genji, which you'll notice is who they played. So the Winston pick was very, very smart, in my opinion, to deal with this hazard and to deal with the DPS lineup that they had. So, we're going to be heading into the third map here, but thank you all for tuning in so far. Getting into the game. So this is map number 3, Suravasa. We'll see how it goes. Now, Suravasa, like I said, varying levels of openness. So it's about seeing how the players navigate around this very, very tight in some areas, but very, very open in others map.
Ready for battle.
As players are ready for battle, go spectate the Dragons, and we're looking at a very similar team comp on both teams, except for one exception. Looks like Western Michigan is going to be going for what I think to be a very cool composition. They're going to be going for more of a Brawl Rush style composition with a Junker Queen and Venture, a character you did not get to see very often, especially on the competitive level. And that Venture is going to pair well with the Tracer to really get on the backline. It depends how we're going to be able to counter dive them to get that working.
Initial flashpoint. Mark it. Unlocks in 10 seconds.
Carried on the wind.
Alright, as we're moving into the second map, I apologize for that. We're going to be seeing a very quick early fight win coming from the side of the Dragons. Wild Viking, however, falls very quickly to Jester on that Tracer. We're going to be seeing how we answer that back. Taz21 chasing off the Tracer. Tracer uses all 3 blinks. All that's left is a weak call, but very high mobility champion finds a health pack. Not going to be very much there. Looks like Western Michigan Venture uses the emerge a little early. Tracer finds very, very high damage onto the Veracity. And a beautiful rail melee combo into the Tracer to finish them off. This is going to be a pretty much guaranteed win fight, especially with the Winston killing Shining on the Brigitte. Veracity with another rail onto the onto the Venture, and another consecutive rail into this Junker Queen. Veracity on the Sojourn is an absolute menace. Something you've never seen here before. And as predicted, looks like Western Michigan is opting to switch to a Genji and a Winston. They switch early in order to maintain the fact that you get 15% ultimate charge back when you switch if you had more than that. Are they going to be able to try and contest? Winston jumps on, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Veracity being chased down by the Winston, and the rest of the enemy team doesn't fall. Teleports away beautifully to the Sojourn and finds some headshots onto the Tracer. Is it going to be enough? And Veracity finishes it off. A beautiful surviving from all of the Moorhead team, and no ultimates being used. Moving on to the next flashpoint here.
Secured. Next flashpoint garden.
こんにちは。
Kiriko looking at ghosts here. Again, they're sticking onto the Winston, however. Could potentially be interesting to see how that goes. In a Winston mirror, all that really matters is how much the follow-up is. Now, Tracer on the side, trying to get anything. The rush coming on the side of Moorhead. Gonna be doing a lot of damage there. Genji, Taz21, getting a little bit of damage here. Thinking about using the Dragon Blade. Opts to not do it! Opts to do it! Dragon Blade comes a little too late. Doesn't really find anything. Starts slashing at his own teammates. Too little too late. This Dragon Blade was an absolute flub. But we do see a fight win thanks to the Kitsune Rush from Veracity. Alright, moving into this next fight, we're not seeing a lot of ultimate charge coming on the side of Western Michigan, and we have 3 ultimates in the DPS, support, and the tank. On the side of Moorhead, Dash kills the Tracer, forces the recall away. Tracer, is they going to be able to live? They do find a way to live. A nice Suzu from Veracity, tries to survive, teleports away, and they fall to the monkey jump. And it's going to be a massive kills from all of Western Michigan. We use Primal Rage. Is it too little too late? I think potentially. Trying to hold on to as much point as you can. Gets the Tracer off the map, however. Goes onto the Kiriko. It's all you can do. Gets the Suzu out. Are they going to be able to teleport away? A beautiful jump over the hill to the supports. Wild Viking doing an absolute masterclass on this Winston here. However, they do maintain control of the point. Kitsune Rush popped from Western Michigan, and the Kiriko falls almost instantly. Doesn't find very much. However, Veracity falls to the Genji. Veracity falls to the Lucio. And Moorhead crumbles like a building being demolished. Wild Viking barely able to escape. Always nice to see. It's what they're good at. So we have Sojourn Overclock as well as Lucio Beat on the side of Moorhead. Could be potentially game fight winning. However, they have Beat to counter that as well as Genji. So the Lucios are in what's called a beat off, where either Lucio beats first, they lose. And there comes the Dragon Blade, and the beat instantly procced from E-Man lets the other Lucio save their beat for after it's worn off, almost guaranteeing a fight win. There it is for the side of Western Michigan. Jester kills E-Man. Taz21 gets a kill back onto Jester. Wild Viking kills the Lucio. This is absolutely massive. It's a Winston off. Who's going to be able to tickle each other better? And it looks like with the help of Sojourn, Monkey's going to fall. Wild Viking gets a little bit greedy onto the Genji, forces the dash, no deflect used, but tries to get as much percentage as he can. Not going to be able to contest it from the side of the Western Michigan. They walk towards the wrong point. Tracer double blinks away. And Wild Viking is absolutely chasing Western Michigan away from the point. And the rest of the team follows right behind.
Got it. Understood.
And there goes Veracity talking to the Lucio. As you do. Alright, let's move into this first fight here. Wild Viking has Primal Rage available. Enemy team, Western Michigan. Kitsune Rush happens very quickly. Are we going to be overseeing the overclock happen as well? Potentially not. Enemy Winston manages to kill our Lucio. And a nice cleanse there from Veracity saves Veracity. Tracer! Oh, beautiful recall. Manages to make them survive for just a little bit longer. Reaper activates Wraith a little bit early. Tracer tries to get a kill onto Veracity. Is it healing going to be enough from Veracity? Yes, it potentially is. Shining kills Taz. Is it enough? Wild Viking with the Primal Rage manages to kill Shining. And Veracity falls. The Kiriko just wasn't there in time. And a Pulse Bomb used from Jester finds absolutely nobody. You could just barely hear the ticking in the background. Wild Viking left to fend with himself on the point. Not a lot of healing available for them. And Wild Viking falls. That first fight's going to be going into the side of the Western Michigan.
Be careful, Shimada.
So let's see what we see from ultimate point perspective. We do have Dragon Blade and we do have Overclock. We have to choose one to use. I think using both would be a mistake. Kiriko trying to get some pot shots off there. Not finding too much. Tracer on the right side. Not a lot of people noticing. Blinks in, blinks out, as Tracer does. Again, Creeper, or Winston, jeez, Pete, jumps onto the backline of Moorhead and is instantly punished by Wild Viking and the rest of the team for doing so. Moorhead should be taking this advantage and pushing it as much as they can, going onto the point with full force. But they're choosing not to, instead of playing this a little bit slowly. Oh my goodness, Reaper just gets absolutely melted like a stick of butter. Taz21 with the Dragon Blade finds shining. And that seems to be about all that we're going to be getting off of that fight. Only one ultimate used on the side of Moorhead. As I talked about, you have to choose which one to use, and Overclock is, or sorry, Dragon Blade is the one we end up using. Overclock on the side of Veracity still remains available. Double spray there from the side of Moorhead, always good. Nice little laser available. Veracity falls extremely lowly. So does the rest of the team. Tracer blinks away, recalls. And there comes Winston. Primal Rage activated. Is it going to be enough to save Veracity? Veracity falls extremely low. Kitsune Rush is not available yet. Taz21 trying his best to survive, but without any supports except for E-Man, it's not going to be enough. Uses Deflect. And there goes Taz21. All that's left is Veracity to try and hold the point, but it's a little too late. Too late. And it looks like Moorhead is going to opt to instead look for the next flashpoint and choose to give that one. Maybe not. Maybe it looks like we're grouping up for a fight here. Sojourn goes onto high ground there. Overclock is still available. Winston jumps in, pulling the crosshairs away. And there goes Overclock. The Death Blossom finds Veracity. It's too much damage. Wild Viking manages to get a kill on point, but it's too much. Double melee kill there. Wild Viking does manage to get one more kill in retaliation, but is it going to be enough? Probably not. Both tank and DPS, especially with the Pulse Bomb. Pulse Bomb whiffs, and a massive melee kill for Wild Viking. Is it going to be enough? It's Winston versus Winston who's going to be able to tackle each other better. The shields both fall, and a jump from the Wild Viking is able to heal. The Kiriko's there to save, and so is the Lucio, but so is the enemy supports. But the flashpoint does fall during that fight while I was a little distracted to Western Michigan. Jump from Winston. Tries to get anything. Doesn't find very much. Not a lot of stuff happening. We're looking for the next flashpoint. I don't exactly know why we're fighting here. Lucio goes in, falls extremely low, and nice Suzu there from Veracity. Barely saves Lucio there. Winston jumps out, tries to get to safety. Looking for the next flashpoint. I don't even know where it is. Lucio looks to have found it, though. Starts claiming it for the side of Moorhead. There comes Reaper and Winston, just in the sideline. Winston jumps in. Both bubbles are popped. And a beat coming from the side of Western Michigan is able to save Tracer from mere death. And the Lucio is able to trade it back. Sojourn trying to get as much as they can, but is it going to be enough? The laser has to hit, and it does, but it's not enough. And all of Moorhead fall to Western Michigan in this first fight. Now, it's not over yet. We do still have 2 flashpoints compared to their 1. And there is still very much a chance that we can take this one, potentially. So we'll have to look at the ultimate economy. Now, they have Pulse Bomb, they have Primal Rage, and they have Kitsune Rush. We have Beat, potentially Dragon Blade, and almost definitely Primal Rage and Kitsune Rush. So in terms of ultimates, I think we're ahead. All it matters is that we're able to build it properly. Winston jumps in a little bit preemptively. Primal Rage activated instantly. We're going to have to fall back from this fight. It's too much. E-Man does boop the enemy Lucio off the team. Or off of the map, I apologize. And a kill there from Reaper onto the Lucio. The Dragon Blade is popped by Taz21, but it's too late. Manages to kill 2. Gets the Reaper as well. Goes at the point, tries to get as much as they can. The Pulse Bomb barely misses. It doesn't get the reflection. But the Winston jumps in, tries to get anything they can. Is it going to be enough? Tries to kill the monkey. Has Primal Rage available to survive on the point. Isn't needed. Stays on the point, wins this fight, takes what they can get. The Tracer falls to Wild Viking. Beautiful, beautiful vision from the Winston there. And an amazing Dragon Blade from Taz21 stabilizes this game, potentially allowing Moorhead to win this next fight. Now we're looking at the ultimates. Again, we have 4 ultimates potentially available. The Sojourn Overclock is going to be up in the next fight, but they're going to have Death Blossom. It's about playing around that. If we see that Reaper use Wraith, we need to be ready to get him. And there goes the jump. The Reaper goes in, tries to Death Blossom. Death Blossom finds nothing, but Tracer does kill the Lucio. Veracity blinks out, but it is not enough. Taz21 gets a headshot into the enemy Tracer, and the Genji kills himself somehow, jumping off the map. Lucio tries to get one. The Primal Rage popped by Wild Viking isn't enough to kill this Reaper who is in Wraith form. And that's probably the second flashpoint falling in favor of Western Michigan. Now notice that we have beat available still. I think we should have used that a little bit earlier into that fight once we'd seen the engage. But we opted not to. We're going to see how that works out for them. Monkey kills Taz21, and I think this point is all but over. E-Man falls just in the nick of time. And they might be able to get some exit frags onto us. But then, no, looks like the Suzu on the bubble is able to protect us. E-Man and Genji on their way back. I believe this is the flashpoint that determines who's going to win this map. I do not know that for a fact, though. Jumping forward. Monkey kills E-Man on the way there. This is potentially very bad now. E-Man, again, still holding on to that beat. Potentially saving it for next game. We'll never know. Veracity kills the Lucio, and the Suzu saves the Kiriko, but Veracity with a beautiful headshot kills Tracer. Is it going to be enough? Nice kill by Veracity. This should be a pretty easy flashpoint take from the side of Moorhead. All that they have to do is get onto point. They have to kill this Winston, which is going to be very difficult. Winston has a very large health bar. Instead, he opts to retreat, choosing to give them this first point. Is it going to be enough, though? He has access to that mini health pack. Reaper uses Wraith very early, and the enemy team is completely on Wild Viking, but he's not afraid. You're not trapped in here with me. Or I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me, says Wild Viking. E-Man there to try and help. Again, just kind of flying around, not doing very much. Primal Rage just pops on the side of the Dragons. Oh, and it just barely saves them. Very, very good Primal Rage, or beat there. And the enemy beat also is popped. Veracity forced to dash out. Not going to have very much, and the rail just misses and it hits the Lucio with the overclock. It's a massive kill. Reaper tries to teleport in, and it's not enough before they could line up the shot. Kiriko manages to kill. However, Taz21 activated the Dragon Blade. Winston has Primal Rage available, uses it, kills the Reaper. It's a massive kill. Oh, they're going to be able to kill the Tracer and the Kiriko. Kiriko falls very low, teleports out. Do they have Suzu still? I don't think so. Tracer falls low to Dashi. The Winston can't find them because in Primal Rage, you don't have access to that lightning gun. And this Tracer is just doing so much damage from the sidelines. And now, look at the ultimate economy. It falls in favor of Western Michigan. They have 3 ultimates available, and we only have 1. We used 4 in that last fight and weren't able to get very much of anything. So we'll have to see how this next fight goes. Reaper teleports in onto the Reaper, or onto the Winston, I apologize. Forced to Wraith out almost definitely. Doesn't end up doing it. Wild Viking falls to about half health here. Winston jumps onto them. Kitsune Rush on the side of Moorhead is popped. The Reaper falls very quickly to Veracity there. Nice kill there. Veracity caught in a tough situation. The Suzu saves him from death. And the Suzu saves the Winston as well. Shining manages to still kill Veracity. Moorhead is left with no supports. All that's left is Veracity to try and get any sort of exit frags, but it is not enough. Wild Viking with the jump kills 1. That's all they're going to be able to get without a shield or Primal Rage available. I think that's going to be the map. I don't know for a fact. 78%. Maybe we'll get one more fight on the side of the Dragons, but gonna be difficult. Now what we want to be looking at is Wild Viking. Wild Viking has that Primal Rage available in almost 20%. Monkey killing E-Man, though, is a very, very unfortunate start to the fight. Wild Viking goes in, gets as much ult charge as he can. And Kiriko just looking to keep Wild Viking alive. Remember, that is their win condition right now. Wild Viking kills the enemy Lucio. Primal Rage is activated a little bit early, but kills the Kiriko potentially. Nice, Kiriko's dead. Enemy team is caught with no supports. Reaper, all he has is Wraith. It's the only resources they have. E-Man shows up to the fight because they died earlier. They're able to spawn very, very soon. But E-Man falls, and then the Wild Viking is going to fall shortly after. It's not enough. We are just too staggered. And that's map 3 going in favor of Western Michigan. Play the game goes to Monkey on the Winston. Also, for those who are just tuning in, this map score is 2-1 in favor of Western Michigan. Western Michigan is on the left side on the spectator view, so they are on the left side on the stream. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. I think we still have a couple more maps to play. I think it's 1st to 3, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what the next map type is, but I'll go to BRB. Thank you all for showing up. And what a good third map, wasn't it? Went to the last flashpoint, but we'll have to see. Looks like MSUM is going to be opting for a sub. Veracity stops playing Overwatch. Maybe just restarting their client. Maybe it was lagging a little bit. We'll have to see. Looks like we're going to be getting into the fourth map. I apologize. Esperanza. And Esperanza, like I said, is a push map.
Initiating
So we're going to be seeing how they handle that. This is where the map all starts. There's the robot I was telling you about. Now, it may look blue, but it does play for both teams. So, don't assume it's only going to be playing for their team. Now, Esperanza, like I talked about, has lots of very long angles, like such. Now, these angles are very, very popular for characters like Widowmaker and Ashe. And without Ashe, maybe you'll see a Widowmaker from the sides of both teams. We'll have to see how that goes.
ready for battle.
And it looks like we're going to be seeing very similar team comps from both teams. Looks like Moorhead's going to be sticking with what they know, opting for the Winston, Kiriko, Tracer, Sojourn, Lucio. Whereas it looks like Western Michigan, the Broncos, are going for an Echo. Now, Echo is a flying character. As we talked about, without the lack of an Ashe, it becomes very difficult for these non-hitscan characters to find that. Now, Sojourn still has access to the rail, which does technically act as hitscan. So, it's not the end of the world, but it's going to be seeing who is able to utilize their Winston better. This Echo could potentially be a big threat. Going into the first point, fighting around this column is usually how it's going to be going. Western Michigan taking control of that bridge. Just looking for pokes. Jester gets an early kill onto Taz21. Potentially caught out in the open without any blinks. And then they choose to make the dive. E-Man falls very low. Lucio, not on speed, is very, very vulnerable. And it looks like Moorhead's going to be falling back. Opting to try and take this bridge. Wild Viking jumps in and kills the Echo with the jump. Also fallen very low. Veracity in the backline falls extremely low, and Voracity with a beautiful rail manages to save the team there from the Kiriko. Wild Viking gets a punch onto Monkey and a beautiful jump onto Jester. That's a double kill for Wild Viking and a pretty convincing fight win from the side of Moorhead. So Moorhead's going to be looking to take control of this bridge and maintain control of this bridge. It's a very popular high ground angle because it allows him to control pretty much this entire causeway here, this little street of Esperanza. And we're going to see how this Echo is able to try and utilize their height advantage. Now the Viking takes a lot of fire very early, uses jump. Are they going to be able to survive? Looks like yes, has both supports on their side. Veracity sitting in the back, tries to get some poke onto the Monkey. Does. Echo fakes Wild Viking, fall extremely low, and Veracity with a beautiful rail manages to stabilize. Taz21 trying to kill the Winston, unable to do it, but does find the Lucio on the way out. Wild Viking at 39 health, unable to live for very much longer, especially against the Tracer. Taz21 looking for any sort of health pack, finds the mini. The DPS passive also able to help passively heal. Voracity dashes out, but with no supports, it's a fight lost for Moorhead. But Moorhead maintains access to the Sojourn Ultimate Overclock, which could potentially turn the fight, especially with those hit scan rails, as we were talking about. Alright, Winston jumps onto Veracity. They instantly dash out. And then Tracer recalls, dashes, and the rail just barely misses. And there's the overclock coming from Sojourn. Is it enough? Winston falls low, misses on the Echo. Turns around, tries to get the Winston. It's enough. Veracity able to finish it off. And the Primal Rage coming on terms from Wild Viking also in play. Kiriko teleports to somewhere unknown. Tracer falls and a massive pulse bomb finds E-Man on the ground. Very unfortunate here. But Veracity and Wild Viking able to clean up the rest of the enemy team. And another very convincing fight. One from the side of Moorhead. However, we did have to use 3 ultimates in Primal Rage, Overclock, and Pulse Bomb. Enemy team maintains access to Echo's Copy, Lucio's Beat, Kiriko's Kitsune Rush, and Winston's Primal Rage. Jumps onto the bridge, and again, it's all about that bridge. Jester falls extremely low into the Tracer. Sojourn getting a little bit greedy, finds a rail onto Lucio, but it's not a headshot, so not able to do enough damage. Monkey pops Primal Rage very, very quickly, and Tracer uses Recall, very vulnerable now, but able to escape. Taz21 in the backline, tries to kill the Winston. Winston falls extremely low. Monkey able to kill with the Primal Rage. Veracity falls. Jester kills Taz21 and a Tracer off. And there comes Echo's Copy as Winston. It's going to be a double Primal Rage on the side of Western Michigan, which is almost unstoppable. Veracity able to get one, though. Is it enough? Maintains complete full health. Teleports out to safety.
At this rate, we won't be in the lead for much longer.
Enemy team is pushing forward.
Alright, moving into the next fight. Shining takes out Veracity with a headshot. Those Kiriko kunai are not to be messed with. It looks like they're trying to take control of the high ground as well. And here comes a Kitsune rush from the enemy team. It's gonna have to fall back here from Moorhead. And pretty much all of them fall right after. Not much to do about that. Looks like we're just gonna have to be playing for the next point. Now, Western Michigan maintains the checkpoint there. And what that does is it makes them get forward spawn. So fights are always going to be harder for Moorhead here going into the future unless they're able to push the bot past that halfway point. You can see with that blue dot in the middle. Pass 21 falls low, has a pulse bomb, recalls. Not able to do enough damage, especially with that beat armor. The pulse bomb thrown by the enemy tracer absolutely whiffs. Airball there. Beat comes from E-Man. I don't exactly know what we're looking for here. Wild Viking does manage to kill one, falls extremely low, but the supports are just not enough. Lucio not able to pump out enough healing. Veracity's gonna fall low. Kiriko's trying to help, and the Tracer falls. Taz 21, a beautiful double kill from Taz 21. Sojourn's gonna go and try and clean up. Overclock available, and the headshot just misses the Reaper. Is it gonna be enough? Reaper falls. Nice whale. And look at that, a nice fight there, won by Moorhead. And if they're able to push the robot past this halfway point, Western Michigan loses that forward spawn. But up until then, they're gonna have a very, very quick time of getting to the bot.
My ultimate is ready.
Now, something to notice is the bot moves faster when it's not actively pushing that wall that you can see on the top middle there.
Hey there.
And so the robot has a much easier time of getting back to that middle after it has been pushed both sides already. Alright, we have Pulse Bomb available from Taz 21. Lucio falls low, unable to secure the kill. E-Man does it for him though. Jester kills E-Man though in return. Kitsune Rush coming from Veracity. Winston jumps in, Primal Rage available. The Reaper tries to get a kill onto Veracity, but is unable to do it. Simply Kiriko is just better than a Reaper, and a Taz 21 able to clean the rest of it up. A massive team fight here for Moorhead, especially with them using their beat. Not very good looking for Western Michigan. Able to push the bot, but if we're not able to push it past this halfway point and get back to that gray wall you can see, we're not going to be able to win this map. Now, push maps are a battle of attrition, not a battle of burst. So it's about taking slow fights, getting as much progress as you can. It looks like that's what Moorhead is doing. The Reaper reloads. And our Frosters are not really looking at the Reaper. Task 21 finds Shining on the Kiriko. And Veracity has to just pump as much healing as possible into their tank. A beautiful headshot! Holy moly! Primal Rage being popped from the enemy Winston. Is it going to be enough to kill anybody on the side of Moorhead? Jester manages to clean up something, and a Pulse Bomb from Jester finds absolutely nobody. Taz 21 kills Jester. Beautiful job. And looks like Western Michigan is pushed back. Moorhead is pushing for the win here, trying to get to that bot to that next position. And there comes a Kitsune Rush from the enemy team. Sojourn pops Overclock. See what they can get. Tries to kill the Lucio, doesn't find it. Lucio just barely misses again. And another miss. And finds the Winston. Reaper ultimate. Oh my gosh, the Death Blossom finds 2 kills. But is it going to be enough? Veracity finds one to trade back. And Jester kills the Veracity trade again. Wild Viking going for the Lucio. Finds the Tracer though. Too many people to look at on the screen. Jumps out right into the hands of the enemy team. The bot's already being pushed. That's a very, very unfortunate timing. And we were not able to get the bot fast enough. Or far enough.
Forward spawn loss.
Alright, moving into the next fight. Looking at what ultimates we have available. Potentially Beat, potentially Kitsune Rush, but it's going to be tricky. With no ultimates, they're in the lead. They're pushing for the win here. Taz 21 going to be a little bit caught out there. Kiriko has to teleport out very quickly. Falls low. Tries to heal Veracity. The Wild Viking is just in the back line. Doesn't see the Kiriko. Is at 1 health bar. Sees it. Finds them. Veracity with a beautiful headshot. Manages to kill the Kiriko before the Winston's able to get there. Veracity looks for the whale. Unable to find it. And Monkey from behind just kills them. Very, very unfortunate. And the Lucio with that boop. Able to find it. Taz 21 looking for the Lucio. Gets it. Wild Viking there too. Pulse Bomb gets blocked by the shield. But Jester is able to take him down because he's too low health. Taz 21 forced to recall. Tries to get on the bot to get as much as they can. Kiriko is not there to heal, unfortunately. And Lucio is just not able to pump out the single target healing that Kiriko is. So unable to save the Tracer there. Alright, moving forward, we're going to be able to see that we have Kitsune Rush available, as well as Beat. It's about using those as soon as we can. Again, this is another situation we were talking about where both Lucios have ultimates. They use their ultimate first. Are we going to be matching it? Yes, we do. And now our beat is going to be lasting longer than theirs. We pop Kitsune Rush. This is going to be a massive fight. And in order to, we just have to be able to capitalize. The Tracer is supposed to recall. Reaper's supposed to Wraith. All it's all the Rayo. The Rayo misses. Reaper at very low health, but still is able to pump out a lot of damage. Veracity manages to get a kill there. Tats 21, Wild Viking as well. And it's a team kill coming from the side of Moorhead, maintaining access to 3 ultimates in Sojourns, Winstons, and Tracers.
60 seconds remaining.
This beat will hear you up.
Alright, moving into the next fight here, Sojourn tries to kill Monkey there on the Winston. Ball's very low. Suzu and Primal Rage popped. Winston's on the back line. And here's Wild Viking trying to kill the Lucio. The right click just barely misses. Wild Viking caught in between a rock and a hard place. Jumps over, tries to get some healing from the supports. It's not enough. Monkey kills Veracity before they're able to heal. Taz 21 has Pulse Bomb available. Tracer recalls. Are they going to be able to find it? No, and they look just the wrong direction. Veracity, though, with that overclock, getting lots of damage from the rails, but isn't able to kill the Winston. Could potentially spell doom here for Moorhead if they're not able to touch the bot in time. Wild Viking gets one. Are they able to get a second one? Yes, they are. And a third. And a fourth, potentially. Lucio just does too much damage, unfortunately. We switch to the Reaper from Veracity. Are they going to be able to get there in time? Have to be working for speed here as opposed to potentially effectiveness. Taz 21 is going to be using as many blinks as possible to get onto the robot. We are now in an overtime situation. What that means is that if Moorhead steps off the point for merely 5 seconds, we lose the game there and then. We have to be winning every single fight. Taz 21 uses the Pulse Bomb, unable to find the Lucio or the Tracer there. But have to use what you got before you lose it. Veracity falls very low to the Tracer. Lucio goes in. And there it is. We almost stepped off the point. Reaper ultimate kills a lot of us. Doing too much damage, and Pulse Bomb all being used right on the point. Reaper, Winston, Lucio. It's too much. Tank, shred, and we fall as well. Fourth map goes in the favor of Western Michigan.
Play of the game.
Play of the game goes to Wild Viking, probably for that double kill we saw earlier. And yep, that looks like it's going to be the match. Very well played from both teams. I think what happened is I think that both teams were utilizing that Winston very, very well. But I think that first map really put us in a difficult place because it put us in a must-win scenario for a lot of different maps as well going forward. And especially on those more open maps, when we're staying on the Winston and we're staying on the Lucio, it's just tricky, especially when you need long-range single-target healing, like an Ana, for example, like a Kiriko, like a Juno. But you're just not seeing that. You're sticking on things like Lucio and stuff like that, and that just doesn't bring this, and Brigitte, and it doesn't bring the same amount of pump. But that seems to be the end of the game.